Hello, and welcome to this week's edition of EnRICHment, where we talk to small business owners and entrepreneurs on strategies and best practices. Now, although small businesses are often at a disadvantage when competing with bigger companies, they can have one advantage. We can always be smarter than they are. So let's get right to it. This week, our subject is nonverbal communication in the digital world. Now, up until a few years ago, most of us had seldom, if ever, attended a virtual meeting. Those of us who did a lot of networking and were leasing our transportation were keeping a watchful eye on the odometer, lest we exceed our mileage allowances as we traveled from event to event. Then came COVID, and our cars were parked more often than they were driven, and we were forced to adjust to a whole new virtual world. We joked about not having to wear dress pants and played around with fanciful Zoom backgrounds, but eventually we had to get serious. We realized that although we were well versed in reading in-person body language and nonverbal communication cues, we were ill-prepared to understand this facet of communication when it came to on-screen meetings. Just as you wouldn't go to a business meeting dressed in shorts and a Hawaiian shirt, we had to learn how to present ourselves on camera. There are subtle ways to communicate effectively and non-verbally online, and we need to use them to our advantage. In a BBC Work-Life article by Joanna York, she quotes a nonverbal communication expert who states, "People often react more to what you do than to what you say, because it communicates the underlying message, what you really think and feel, and your intentions." In other words, your professionalism is on display whenever you sit in front of your camera, just as much as if you were sitting at a table in a conference room. Even in a virtual meeting, nonverbal communication is occurring. Ms. York writes, a 2022 survey of 200 executives showed that 92% of managers believe the employees who turned off their cameras during meetings were less likely to have a long-term future at their company. Yeah, that says a lot. Keep those cameras on. There are a few obvious methods to convey online professionalism and use nonverbal communication effectively. Ms. York quotes M. Riddell, an expert in body language who's based in Stockholm. Eye contact particularly is positively associated with likability, social presence, and interpersonal attraction. Yet making eye contact on a video call requires us to go up against our natural instincts. The brain wants to look at the face on the screen, but you have to learn to look in the camera when it's your turn to speak. Additionally, the background you can use reveals a lot. As Julia Hansen writes in Business to Community, when your background makes a strong statement about you, use it right. You are quite literally projecting an image, whether professional or otherwise, to your customers. So make sure that your real or your virtual background supports that image by being neat and clutter-free, well-lit, and perhaps with a spark of personality. The choice of real versus virtual background depends on several considerations. Welcoming people into your home can humanize you and create a special connection. At other times, you may wish to project a more professional persona by using a virtual background. The bottom line, practicing professionalism, whether in person or online, is the key to successful business communication. So here's a few questions to think about. Have you given thought to your background and what it says about you? And secondly, do you tend to feel more casual and relaxed when communicating online versus in an office setting? Do you think you might make some changes now after learning a little bit more about the subject? Well, I hope you found this useful. If you'd like to further discuss anything regarding the topic or any small business strategy, reach out to me at rich@speakingofsuccess.us. Thanks, and I will see you next week.